Hello, welcome to the Professional Amateur, Episode 5, Addendum 1, um, Testosterone and Depression. So I'm had some feedback on my video that I should dive a little bit more into the connection between men feeling disempowered, low testosterone levels, depression, and boosting testosterone. So I just wanted to go through a few articles, and I will have links to those articles in the show notes about just teasing out a little more detail there. So at the end of that last video on masculine empowerment, I was making the case that if you boost your testosterone levels, you might feel more empowered as a man. And I didn't quite make the connection between depression and anger, and I'm going to do that in this video. But first, I just wanted to take a look at a few articles that are a little updated, and I'll have links to these again in the show notes. Declining testosterone levels in men, not part of normal aging. So a new study finds that a drop in testosterone levels over time is more likely to result from a man's behavioral and health changes than by aging. And they go into a lot of detail here, basically talking about the different things that could be causing this. And one of the interesting ones was right here. Men who had declines in testosterone were more likely to be those who became obese, had stopped smoking, or were depressed at either clinic visit. And then here, past research has linked depression and low testosterone. This hormone is important for many bodily functions, including maintaining healthy body composition, fertility, and sex drive. It is critical that doctors understand that declining testosterone levels are not a natural part of aging and that they are most likely due to health-related behaviors or health status itself. So the big one I wanted to highlight was the connection between depression and low testosterone. There is a link, and it's not a causal link, but there's been some research showing that there's a link between depression and low testosterone. But it's a little bit like the chicken and the egg. Is your depression causing the low testosterone, or is the low testosterone causing your depression? Well, we can't know that for sure. There's a correlation between the two, but there's no 100% causation. But why should you be concerned that generationally men's testosterone levels are lower? Because there's a strong link. So here's another article from Medical News Today, why all men should be concerned about declining testosterone. There's a strong link between men's low levels of testosterone and having 2 or more chronic diseases, such as arthritis, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, even in men under 40. And, they should add depression to this list because that's been well documented. So obesity and physical inactivity may be responsible for testosterone decline as well, even at younger ages. And I think that's pretty obvious. We have a huge, all of us as a society in the West have become a little more sedentary. We sit in front of the computer, in front of our, phones, and stay inside a lot more than in the past. I think that's relatively well documented, although, maybe anecdotal. I won't go too much into that, though. And then here's another article, low testosterone and depression. Is there a connection? From Healthline. They kind of go, into what testosterone is. And it's also important to notice that, women produce testosterone as well, and it's healthy for women as well, the right levels. Too low is bad, too high is bad. So not just saying that, testosterone, you need more testosterone to feel better, but if your testosterone is low, and it's likely if you're over 25 in the United States, it can be linked to depression. So, right here, depression, anxiety, irritability, and other mood changes are common in men and women with low T or low testosterone. So researchers aren't sure what causes the correlation. Testosterone therapy can boost the mood of many people with low testosterone, particularly older adults. And then there's a study here about testosterone and depression on NCBI's website, which is a medical journal website. And I'll have this in the show notes, this in the show notes as well. Testosterone and depression, a systematic review. And in this, they basically just say that testosterone replacement therapy may have an antidepressant effect. And that's a more medical-like study to show that testosterone levels can affect depression. So why is this important for men's empowerment? So I think, and this is just me here, my opinion, I think that men are, because of the huge pushback against toxic masculinity, which I'm not against. I think that toxic masculinity is bad. There has been little delineation between healthy masculinity and toxic masculinity. And all masculinity, all aggression, all competitiveness, all those things have been really pushed back against in our society. And as a result, I think a lot of men feel depressed. And how do men manifest depression? Well, men and depression in this article from the National Institute of Mental Health. Men and women both experience depression, but their symptoms can be very different. And this is the big one, because men who are depressed may appear to be angry or aggressive instead of sad. Their families, friends, and even doctors may not always recognize the anger or aggression as depression symptoms. And in addition, men are less likely than women to recognize, talk about, and seek treatment for depression, yet depression affects a larger number of men. So I think a lot of men are depressed and exhibiting signs of anger and aggressiveness because they don't know, they don't even know they're depressed, or they don't even know why they're feeling that way. And I think there's just a general disempowerment, confusion, and a feeling that you're not wanted in society. I mean, and you can look into like suicide rates among men or suicide, completion of suicide, maybe not suicide rates, but men, suicide rates in men are so much higher, like 4 times higher than that of women. I think that's a problem. I think a lot of men go undiagnosed with depression because they may be angry, aggressive, or having other issues that they just don't know what it is. So I think that boosting your testosterone levels naturally and pursuing healthy activities where you can be aggressive, so sports, martial arts, weightlifting and training, these types of things will boost your testosterone naturally and also help elevate your mood. So there's a link between depression and there's a link that if you elevate your testosterone levels, if they're low, that you can boost your mood and possibly help fight against depression. So that's the link I was trying to make in the earlier video that maybe wasn't so clear, that there's a real medical link between this. But whether or not it's the depression causing the low testosterone or the low testosterone causing the depression, it's really a chicken or egg thing. We don't know, but we know that they move in correlation. So if you have normal testosterone levels, you're less likely to be depressed. And if you have low testosterone levels, you're more likely to be depressed, anecdotally and in these different studies. Then there's an article from the Federalist here that says the real crisis of masculinity is tanking testosterone levels. And this is by Ariel Davidson, written in 2019. But she brings up some good points here. She's basically saying that traditional masculinity, marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, and aggression, is on the whole, being decried as harmful. And although toxic masculinity is bad, she's thinking that she proposes that demonizing masculine norms is actually having a bad effect on men and causing depression and other problems, and that maybe there's some links there to the lower testosterone levels over time. But one of the things she points out at the end of her article here is that several studies have shown that engaging in what would be considered traditionally masculine behavior, such as competitive or aggressive activities, can increase testosterone levels. In fact, a study performed at the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor indicated that just by assuming a position of power, can increase the testosterone levels of both men and women. So it's interesting how women also need testosterone. It's a vital hormone, and doing what would be considered traditionally masculine behavior, sports and all these other things, increases testosterone levels. And I think that that's fine. I don't think that it should be just men or just women. I don't think there is. We've definitely dispensed with our cultural norms of what's traditionally masculine behavior, but I guess I agree with her in so much as there's no need to demonize and shame traditionally masculine behavior if you want to go out for sports, or being aggressive in business, or being aggressive in competitive sports and things like that. I think there's healthy outlets for that, and also there's a part of masculinity that's the father, the fathering aspect, and that's the one that's protective and aggressive in protecting, his family. And I think that's an archetype and a healthy masculine behavior is protecting your own family and those instincts. So above discussion indicates having too much or too little testosterone may be undesirable from both an individual and a societal perspective. However, shaming the traditionally masculine behavior is often associated with sustaining testosterone levels seems incredibly foolish and potentially dangerous. There should be and can be a happy medium that emphasizes the importance of men seeking emotional support when needed without shaming the behaviors needed to sustain a society. So I think that's a good point. If you want to read this whole entire article, I think that I'll have that posted in the show notes so you can check it out. And again, I'll end with a Healthline article on how to boost testosterone. If you think you have low testosterone levels, and of course, if you're worried about that, don't take my advice for it. Go see a medical professional if you feel like you might have low testosterone levels. You can go get your serum testosterone done blood test, by your general practitioner. Or if you were, I want to encourage men who are maybe experiencing depression or anger and aggression that you might not know is depression to reach out to a mental health professional, friends, family, spiritual directors, therapists. Don't be afraid to talk to people or talk to other friends, about it. I know it's really easy for men, especially, to self-isolate because they don't want to open up. And that's also a stereotype, right? The stoic male that I think we need to reverse. And being stoic isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it also doesn't mean that you need to not have a support system around you. So in being a proponent for healthy, empowering masculinity, I want to encourage people to, especially men, to open up your relationships, to talk, to emote. Those things are healthy. And also, it's okay to boost your testosterone levels and to do aggressive activities. It's not bad. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a part of healthy masculinity. So toxic masculinity is more about abuse and aggression that leads to abuse and problems. But there's a healthy aggression, being aggressive for what's right, for fighting for what's right, being aggressive in pursuing justice in society. Those are healthy masculine traits. And just because it's masculine doesn't mean only men can do it. So, women can be aggressive and be a healthy aggression. So there's a difference, between healthy aggression that leads to good outcomes in a healthier society and unhealthy aggression that leads to self-destruction or aggression towards others that leads to abuse. See, aggression's not good or evil. It's what it leads to. So same thing with masculinity. Masculinity is not evil. It is not bad. In fact, we desperately need healthy masculine archetypes and healthy masculine father figures to emerge in our society and realize that men can be emotional, men can cry, men can talk about their feelings. And this is really, really important, I think, because a lot of men are struggling. I feel like because just looking at the suicide rates and the depression rates of men in our society, in the United States at least, it's really sad. And I think that we can open up and we can come together and talk about this and have an open dialogue as a society about establishing healthy masculinity and not just vilifying all masculinity under toxic. I think that's a mistake as well. So I'm going to leave it with this Healthline article on 8 proven ways to increase testosterone levels naturally. And they're the same things I talked about in my last video: exercise, lift weights, eat protein, fat, and carbs, otherwise a balanced diet, minimize stress and cortisol levels. There's so many different ways to do that. get sun or vitamin D, especially now that a lot of people are inside a lot all day. Try to get some sun or take a vitamin D supplement if you can't get outside, even for a few minutes. Take vitamin and mineral supplements if you're not getting enough from whole healthy foods, which most of us aren't. I know I'm not. Get plenty of restful, high quality sleep. That's a big deal. That's hard to do in our society. I know a lot of people have problems sleeping, but I have a whole article on called "How to Sleep," which I'll link to this, that goes into more detail on blue light versus red light, drinking caffeine or sugar before bed, and eating too late before bed, and how that disrupts your sleep patterns. And then there's natural testosterone boosters you can also, use herbs and other things like that actually have proven benefits to help boost testosterone levels. And it says here, like, if you have healthy testosterone function at normal levels, you don't need to take supplements. So if you suspect that you might be in that camp, it's okay to go go see a doctor, get your testosterone levels tested, and see if you're low. But if you just suspect that you are, exercising and eating healthy and sleeping is not going to hurt you. It's going to just be good for you anyway and help balance your levels. So don't worry about that. But if you suspect that you have low testosterone, I wouldn't go out and take any supplements, unless you get tested and see that you actually have low testosterone levels. That's about all I've got for today. So thanks for listening. Just wanted to maybe tease out that link between masculine empowerment, testosterone levels, depression, and anger, and how they're all interrelated. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.